Hey everybody, Foley here for the weekly news recap to the 5th to the 11th of June, 2023. So, might as well get into it. Summer Games Fest has started this week and is ongoing until the end of the month. So, there's gonna be a lot of shit in this news video and maybe in the ones coming up. Anyway, Summer Games Fest kickoff show was on Thursday evening. So we're going to go over some of the trailers that were shown off during the event. So first up was Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. This is a side-scrolling hack and slash, possibly Metroidvania type thing from Ubisoft. More information will be coming from the Ubi Forward event, which is some stage next week. Ostensibly, the prince has been kidnapped, and you and a bunch of your crew have been sent to rescue them. Yeah, that's kind of all we know about it right now. It does have a kind of... It does feel like a Metroidvania type deal, but with like difficult bosses and stuff like that. It has been getting not great response from the gaming community, but not for the reasons that you would typically think. Normally it's for something bigoted, but not this time. This time it's for people who don't understand the origins of Prince of Persia, I guess. They're complaining that it's a 2D side-scrolling game and we want classic Prince of Persia. That's 3D parkour stuff. Forgetting that the original Prince of Persia was 2D, you fucking idiots. Anyway, this is lousy kids ruining things for everybody else. It looks good. You could somehow make the complaint, I guess, that if they had time to be working on this, they had time to be working on the Prince of Persia Sands of Time remake that they announced like 5 years ago at this point. But like, this looks fun. I want to play this. Anyway, it's Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. We don't know too much about release dates and stuff like that, but as I said, there'll be more at the Ubi Forward event later this month. Mortal Kombat 1 gameplay was shown off. We'll talk about it a little bit, I suppose. It is just fair warning, it is extremely gory. Mortal Kombat 1, a somewhat soft reboot for the series. Let me just check, actually, that my mic is all working and everything's fine. Yes, it is. Okay, good. We should check that earlier. Anyway, Mortal Kombat 1 is a kind of a reboot of the series itself. If you did not play Mortal Kombat 11 all the way to the end, you may not know where the story stands right now. But story-wise, Liu Kang has effectively taken over for Raiden. So Raiden being the, protector of Earthrealm, god of thunder, and so on, Liu Kang is now the protector of Earthrealm, god of fire. And a new universe has been created, and a lot of the similar characters that you would have encountered in Mortal Kombat series up until now are still here, but their relationships, their stories, and stuff have changed a little bit. So, Scorpion and Sub-Zero used to be enemies. They're now literally brothers in this. Raiden is... Liu Kang and Raiden have kind of swapped places. Liu Kang is, Elder God, effectively, and Raiden is now what Liu Kang was at the beginning of the game, like a Shaolin monk type deal. And so on. And now Kenshi is in Mortal Kombat 1 for some reason. I guess they really like him. I don't know. Johnny Cage is still Johnny Cage by the looks of things. I guess he is the same. He's the one constant throughout all universes of Mortal Kombat. Johnny Cage is always a prick. Anyway, it looks pretty good, but again, it's a fighting game, and I tend to just watch people play those instead of play them myself. Anyway, what's interesting is this cameo system they have, where characters from the Mortal Kombat series can sort of hop in and do some moves and then hop back out. The way they have likened it is you effectively have a buddy, and the buddy has... it gives you access to that character's moveset a little bit. So you get like some of Sonya's moves, you get some of Jax's moves, some of Kano's moves, that kind of stuff. To like supplement your combos, and any cameo can partner with any character. So you could have, if you wanted to, you could have Raiden and Raiden, Sub-Zero and Sub-Zero, and so on like that if you really wanted to. I don't know why you would do that, but you could. Anyway, more about that later. It is coming out some stage. When was the month? 19th of September this year, so it's going to be out pretty soon. And Path of Exile 2 was announced. Path of Exile is a free-to-play Diablo clone type thing, although fans of Path of Exile would be angry at me for calling it that, but that's what it is. I personally found it very grindy, the original, so I'm not exactly too hyped about this, but I know it's been a while since Path of Exile has had refreshed content, shall we say. Again, that could also be not true. I don't know. I don't follow it too far. Anyway, 18th of July for people who are interested in that. Street Fighter Cross Exoprimal. So there are going to be Street Fighter skins in Exoprimal. Big shock there. They're both Capcom properties, of course. That's going to happen. It does, of course, increase or decrease the Ryu number for a lot of characters once again. Nicolas Cage showed up to promote him appearing in Dead by Daylight. It is an extremely awkward interview with Jeff Keighley. Anyway, because every interview with Jeff Keighley is extremely awkward. 25th of July, if you have Dead by Daylight, you can play as Nicolas Cage, if you like. If you play on PC, you can play a little bit earlier with the test build. For some reason, they decided to put Netflix trailers in somewhere, a games festival thing. Witchfire is going to be entering early access on the 20th of September. Witchfire I've shown off on the channel a couple of times. It is a pretty fast-paced first-person magic gun thing, as you can see from what's kind of a look at this, and from the from the creators of these, one of these doesn't really fit. It's okay, Painkiller, sure, Bulletstorm, sure, Vanishing of Ethan Carter, okay, why is that there? Hey Melwin, how's it going? Happy Sunday. Yeah, I'm not sure what the Vanishing of Ethan Carter guy is doing here. Maybe he or they rather got lost on the way to work one day and he went, hey, this looks like fun, I'm gonna help develop this game instead. Anyway, first person magic gun stuff. It's gonna be entering early access in September. Think of it like Doom, but like medieval kind of stuff, I guess. I don't know. It seems like it'll be good. Moving on. Got that late notification again. They're gonna get you. Crossfire Sierra Squad. Hoorah VR. Moving on. Remnant 2, sequel to Remnant from the Ashes, is kind of like an over-the-shoulder third-person shooter / Souls type game. I wasn't super hyped about the first game, honestly. After playing it, played it through with a friend. I honestly don't remember a whole lot about the game, so moving on. Sonic Superstars kind of just dropped out of nowhere. No, I know. It's kind of expected that some kind of Sonic game is being worked on at all times, no matter what. This is kind of like a glow-up, I guess, of the original Sonic game. So 2D Sonic, it looks really good. It looks gorgeous. Sonic games are very hit and miss, though, so hopefully this is one of the hits. But yeah, it looks really nice, and you can play as a bunch of different characters. You're obviously not getting the appreciation for sound effects and music here, but the music is also pretty good too. Play as your favorite characters, but not Big the Cat, because Big the Cat is nobody's favorite character. I don't know how all these characters are able to run as fast as Sonic. Isn't he supposed to be the fastest? He's the fastest thing alive, right? He's not just the fastest hedgehog. Not that that would be very difficult. Anyway. Sonic Superstars, autumn, some point. No specific date given. In news that will probably only interest me, Honkai Star Rail is coming to PlayStation 5 in the end of the year at some point. Honkai Star Rail is futuristic Genshin Impact. Same developer, pretty much the exact same game, but now it's set in sci-fi space stuff instead of Fantasyland. Lies of P, Lies of Pinocchio. So this is a really generous artist interpretation of Pinocchio type situation going on here. Lies of P is very much likened to Bloodborne, because the similarities are plainly obvious. It has been given a release date, and there is now a demo available on PlayStation, at least. I'm not sure about Xbox or PC, but there's definitely one on PlayStation because I have it installed. Otherwise, you're going to be waiting until September at some point. Can we get to gameplay? Yeah, it's a Bloodborne Souls type game. I'm sure you'll understand if you like that or not. It has some of the trappings of Pinocchio. Geppetto is a main antagonist, I think. Jiminy Cricket accompanies you. You can see briefly shows up there at the bottom. He seems to be there for comic relief. The release date is 19th of September, but you can play the demo right now if you like. Sandland is an adaptation of Akira Toriyama's other manga property. Yeah, he's done other ones. He hasn't just done Dragon Ball. He has done other manga as well. Sandland is this universe where humans and demons have to try to coexist in this desert wasteland of a planet, effectively. And shenanigans transpire, of course. It does have the familiar Akira Toriyama art style as well. Not a whole lot known about the game, exactly how it plays. It does look like it's going to be a kind of 3D brawler type situation. Again, we don't know a whole lot about it. There's a bit of this tank combat, and then there's a bit of on-foot combat situations. I haven't read the manga, so I don't know a whole lot about it. Release date yet to be announced, to know. Annapurna Interactive Showcase is happening at the end of the month. That's it. That's the news. Stray is probably going to be on Xbox. That's about it. Throne and Liberty, I don't even remember. I don't remember anything about it. I'm going to skip it because I don't remember anything about it. Warhaven. Warhaven is For Honor again, but different this time, basically. So it looks like it is a party co-op multiplayer thing, where you're all on this big battlefield, all getting annihilated by various enemies. It does look like it is your crew versus another crew, and then there's a bunch of like computer-controlled minions running about the place. So For Honor, basically, or Dynasty Warriors, if you like, a 4v4 Dynasty Warriors type deal. Yeah, I was kind of interested until it obviously became a multiplayer thing. I was like, right, cool, moving on. You guys can enjoy that. I don't care anymore. I have now changed keyboard somehow because I fat-fingered my way into it. Okay. Party Animals. Party Animals is Gang Beasts, but with animals instead. Gang Beasts is a very fun party game. It's one of the few party games that are one of the few multiplayer games that I would actually be happy to play with other people. One of the few competitive multiplayer games, we'll say. It is very stupid and, clumsy physics stuff where it's you versus your friends or / enemies probably after the game, and you beat each other up, and it's nonsense. It's quite fun. Or Gang Beast is quite fun, and Party Animals looks like it's pretty much the same thing. 20th of September for that. Crash Bandicoot Team Rumble 4v4 multiplayer. I fell asleep. 20th of June. Alan Wake, 17th of October, so some actual gameplay from that. Raw, unedited gameplay, as it was called. It's none of those things, but okay. Yeah, it looks so like the Resident Evil 2, 3, 4 remakes. Looks a lot like them, guys. What can we say? It's this very close-in, claustrophobic viewpoint. Third person, down at the hip. It's not quite over the shoulder, It's this particular angle of the camera is what says Resident Evil Remake to me, I guess. More action-focused over-the-shoulder games tend to be higher up on your character, and you don't actually see as much of your character. You see a lot more of the environment. Whereas when you're very close in on the person, and then the person also takes up a huge amount of the vertical, that's meant to be for more claustrophobia, horror, scariness, because you can't see as much, you don't have as much peripheral vision. So that's kind of what I'm going for. And I mean, Alan Wake's meant to be a scary game, so that works. I'm going to skip ahead to some combat stuff. So it is still using the Alan Wake mechanic of you need to burn off the darkness with your flashlight, your torch. so that they become vulnerable and then you can actually hurt them. They still take a whole lot of ammunition to go down, and whoever's playing this character reloads after 2 shots. I mean, yeah, a lot of gamers do that, but they usually make sure the enemy's dead first. Anyway. Alan Wake has a release date of 17th of October. Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. There's not a whole lot that was new shown off in this trailer. Also didn't get a release date or anything. It's winter at some point. What the trailer did show off is that there is co-op. Up to 3 people can play through it. For the Emperor, if you like. Yes, Your Grace, Snowfall. I honestly don't know a whole lot about Yes, Your Grace. I think it is a kind of base management, kingdom management type game. The original Yes, Your Grace has a lot of good press. Like, it's quite well received critically, but I don't know a whole lot about the game myself, so I'm gonna skip it. John Carpenter's Toxic Commando is Left 4 Dead. It's John Carpenter's Left 4 Dead, basically. It's 4-player, first-person shooty type thing. Some interesting things from the trailer, at least. It seems that there's a significant amount of vehicular combat, in that 4 of you are in a kind of tricked-out tank, SUV, big truck thing. It seems you can cosmetic that to make it look like an ambulance if you want, or that kind of thing. So I guess somebody's in charge of driving and the rest of you are in charge of shooting things, I guess. There is also on foot combat shown off in the trailer, so I guess maybe it's a mix of both. Baldur's Gate 3 showed up to remind you it's coming out at the end of August, and Jason Isaacs is playing one of the antagonists. Does a pretty good job in the voice work. Marvel Spider-Man 2 didn't show off anything new, specifically, but it did drop a release date. It's the 20th of October this year, and it did reveal that Venom is not Eddie Brock. Now we know not for me to be the driver. Yep, that's true. If you want to find out why, go watch our playthrough of A Way Out yesterday. I should not be allowed to drive. I'm better at the shooting bit. Yeah, so Venom won't be Eddie Brock, which is the usual comic incarnation of Venom. Is that Eddie Brock is effectively Peter Parker, but 5 minutes late, is how he's a lot of the time he's described as. He's like, misses out dating Gwen Stacy, misses out getting a job at the Daily Bugle. He's narrowly avoids being bitten by the spider that gives Peter Parker his powers and all that stuff. He's effectively Peter Parker, but 5 minutes late. Is Eddie Brock. But Venom won't be Eddie Brock in this. So we don't know who it's going to be. That'll be interesting. Pal World. All right, Pal World. If I didn't tell you this was a real, legitimate game, you would tell me it was a shitpost. Pal World is, okay, what if Pokemon, but guns? What if you gave Pikachu a Glock? What if you gave Eevee a rocket launcher? That's Pal World. So far, yeah, it's Pokemon, but now miniguns. Why not? Or there's a hilarious. I want to find this hilarious image. There's a bunch. Yeah, here. There's a bunch of Mareep with heavy machine guns. It's just fucking hilarious. I don't know. I kind of feel like I need to play this just because of how dumb it looks. Yeah, let's give Lapras surface-to-air missiles. Why not? So I guess the Pokemon, obviously they're not Pokemon, they're pals or whatever, but I guess they don't have abilities themselves. Yes, I too would like to put Eevee in a weapons manufacturing factory. Okay. Right, Pal Worlds. Early access starting January of next year. Yep, that's going to be a weird one. Land of the Morning Light for Black Desert. Land of the Morning Light is DLC for the Black Desert MMO. You knew that already if you were interested in the game, probably. Lord of the Rings Return to Moria, we're going to skip it because you don't want to know. Just move on. You don't want to know. Ever Crisis, again, something that will only interest me, is going to be a gacha android thing. So this is essentially retelling the story of the original Final Fantasy VII, but the whole saga of it. So leading up to Starting from like the battle at Wutai, where Sephiroth becomes a big hero of the people. Crisis Core, where Zack works his way up, soldier, and Sephiroth starts to become a little bit not so happy with Shinra. Final Fantasy VII, the game, literally, and then After Crisis, which is like Dirge of Cerberus, Advent Children, that kind of thing. But it's going to be gacha things. If you played Nier Reincarnation, you know what you're in for. Your characters with now they have a fancy coat, or now they have a cool hat, but now they cost you $10 to unlock, kind of thing. Is this the one with 2 Blu-ray? No, it's not this one. This is the next one. This is the next one we'll talk about. I am interested in this, but I need to see how it's going to play out, because it does feel like it's going to be a Raid Shadow Legends type thing, where it's like the game plays itself and you occasionally have to jump in to do something stupid. I don't know. We'll see. No information about it yet, but it is running a closed beta this month, and you can pre-register for it if you like. It's going to be Android and iOS, not PC. I don't understand why they don't do these. There's so many Final Fantasies. There are 16 of them now. Banisher's Ghost of New Eden coming out the end of the year. So this was shown off at the shown off at the Game Awards, I think, of last year. Banishers is the next game from Don't Nod, who are the people behind Life is Strange, Vampire, Remember Me, other games. This is a kind of third-person action-adventure type thing. You play this Scottish guy who goes about the land exorcising devils and demons and ghosts and what have you, helping them move on or something. Violently helping them move on. Like, move on. Move on already, goddammit. I'm going to keep punching you in the face until you move on into the afterlife. There's a lot of... You have your dead lover, I think. I don't know. Your actual relationship isn't clear. I assume your former lovers or current, I don't know. When you're dead, are they your former lover? I don't know. You have abilities to use within the ghost world or something like that. I don't know. We'll see how much or how different it becomes. Don't Nod had... Oh, sorry, not Don't Nod. Remember Me had an interesting combat mechanic. Vampire's combat was interesting, but not that engaging, we'll say. So they have something there. They kind of know a little bit about what to do with combat, but they haven't quite nailed it with their games yet. And obviously Life is Strange has no combat in it at all. But we'll see. We'll see how that turns out. Again, end of the year, no specific release date. Like a Dragon Gaiden, The Man Who Erased His Name is definitely Yakuza, but don't call it Yakuza because they get given out to for calling it Yakuza. So Kazuma Kiryu, who has tried to remove himself from society, killed his name, or what have you, erased his name, is brought back again because always they can't keep him away. He's been brought back to do some more shenanigans. If we jump into gameplay, it's a Yakuza game, but he has Spider-Man powers? Question mark? I don't know. You I mean, if you played any of the Yakuza up till now, which is like 10 games at this point, you'll probably know if you like what you're seeing or not. So this is a way for them to kind of keep the older Yakuza Like a Dragon games, which were third-person brawler type games, versus the kind of direction they're going in now with the Like a Dragon games, which is more of a turn-based, real-time turn-based kind of thing, that they branched out with Like a Dragon 7. I guess we'll see where that goes. Release date, 9th of November this year. Under the Waves, August 29th of this year. Under the Waves is a thalassophobia simulator, I guess. It's like, are you scared of the deep ocean? Well, have I got the game you should probably stay away from. You are Jacques Cousteau, I guess, or Jacques Cousteau, who's hanging out in this underwater submersible house thing, underwater boat. I think you are like a mechanic for some corporation. You're going around fixing up their underwater installations, but hey, maybe there's somebody down here with you, and maybe they're trying to sabotage things. So there's a bit of a horror element to it, and then there's a bit of an existential, I'm alone down here with just nature type deal, and I'm slowly going insane. and or the other person down here might just be me. It might just be me sabotaging myself. Who knows? Call of Duty. Who cares? Moving on. Fae Farm is multiplayer Stardew Valley, effectively. So moving on. Marvel Snap. Nobody cares. King Arthur. It's a mobile game. Moving on. Wayfinder is getting a free-to-play early access thing coming in summer, some point. Even though it is literally the summer right now. Wayfinder is free-to-play Diablo. More or less. Paradox Interrelation. Okay. Stellaris Nexus. I don't understand these. It's a real-time space battle thing. Moving on. Skipping over these games I have no interest in, sorry. Space Trash Scavenger. You are sent out into space to collect trash, clean up space, get money for it, improve your equipment so you can clean up more trash. Moving on. Star Trek Infinite is another RTS thing. Then they showed off, again, another trailer for a TV show, Twisted Metal, the TV show, where it has the new Captain America against Sweet Tooth. They're kind of playing it for laughs. It's a bit comedic, which is fine, but it kind of ignores the character of Sweet Tooth and his background in that he is a child murdering pedophile. But he's funny, so that's fine. Okay, I guess they're gonna gloss over that part of his background, but all right. Lisfanga, the Time Shift Warrior, unannounced date some stage this year. So Lisfanga is kind of interesting because it's got an interesting mechanic. So it's got this sort of Super Time Force thing where you can roll back time and then work alongside your previous incarnation and then keep doing that to have like 3 of you on screen at once, 4 of you on screen at once, and so on and so forth. So you can have multiples of yourself going about it. So I'm going to attack this guy on the right, and then I'm going to attack this guy on the left, and then attack this guy down the middle. So now all 3 of you are attacking at once. That's going to get pretty intense and pretty insane after a while. Because it's going to feel probably more like a puzzle game. It's like, who do I engage first? And then how do I engage them? And then do I make sure I attack them enough, so that they don't move or try to engage the other version of me and that kind of thing. It's going to be confusing, but yeah, it'll be interesting. Immortals of Avium showed up to remind you it's coming out soon, 20th of July. Fortnite, nobody cares. Moving on. And then finishing on, here's the one that's on 2 Blu-rays. This is kind of funny in that it was mentioned, Jeff Keighley goes, yes, it's on 2 discs. And somebody in the crowd just yells out 2 discs right before the trailer starts, and it's just taken off as something hilarious now. Anyway, yes, I think it's one of the first, it must be one of the first current gen games to be on 2 discs. So if you're not familiar with the Final Fantasy VII story, this effectively takes place in what would have been the 2nd and 3rd discs of the original game. Or maybe just the 2nd disc, it's hard to tell. Or no, sorry, part of the 1st disc and maybe part of the 2nd disc. They escape Midgar. They're now on a sort of journey to follow Sephiroth's footsteps, figure out where he's going, what he's doing, maybe try to stop him if he is indeed attempting to destroy the entire planet. As it transpires, Sephiroth's not actually trying to destroy the entire planet. He's trying to hollow it out and use it as a body to travel through the cosmos. Semantics, maybe. Anyway, yeah, pretty hyped about this. Mostly I'm hyped for the story changes, because there's a lot of different things that they are bringing up in the voiceover that you're obviously not hearing because I'm not letting you. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see how they play it out. Sephiroth has a much stronger presence in the remakes than he did in the original game. In the original game, he's this mysterious thing, like that you can only see glimpses of. You can only see where he's been and not where he is right now. In the remake, he's a lot more present. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. And also who this is. I assume it's G.I. Natak, but maybe not. I don't know. Why are Barrett and Red by themselves is also a question. Elena showing up a little earlier than she normally does, again, in the original. So, yeah, there's some interesting story changes there that I don't want to know too much about because spoilers, obviously. Anyway, that was Summer Games Fest. But that's not the only thing, because Summer Games Fest is actually a huge collection of different showcases. That was just Summer Games Fest opening night. This is Day of the Devs. Double Fine and I Am 8-Bit that put on this very indie-focused thing. And it's only recently been partnered with Summer Game Fest. It used to just be its own thing. In fact, it used to be a purely in-person thing. They didn't even have a digital event. That only really started with COVID. Anyway, Beastie Ball was the first one shown off. Beastie Ball is Pokemon. You're going to see this a lot in a lot of games. But Pokemon... But what if instead of them fighting each other, they play volleyball instead? That's Beastie Ball, basically. You are a volleyball coach, and you collect a team of not Pokemon to engage in volleyball shenanigans, more or less. That's the deal. You know, you build up your team or collect new volleyball Pokemons and go about doing more Pokemon shenanigans. But not Pokemon, obviously, because trademark. Anyway. Yeah, sure, why not? Summerhill is, hey, didn't you always want to shepherd sheep? Well, boy, have I got the game for you, I guess. I don't know. This is from the people from, again, Alto's Adventure, so there's going to be some, pretty good, meditative gameplay, some, existentialism and that kind of thing. You do have a fun dog with you and what have you, so, there could be something here. There's not a whole lot shown off. This is very much a tone setter for the game. There isn't even any shepherding done, really, so... I don't know. I guess we'll see how the game itself actually plays out. But I don't know. Anyway, moving on. Retro Gadgets. I won't go into too much Retro Gadgets. Retro Gadgets is effectively a simulator game, but for people who are really into integrated circuits, soldering, making their own Raspberry Pi stuff. So that's kind of what Retro Gadgets is about. What if you wanted to build your own Game Boy kind of thing? So here's a bunch of parts. You can put your stuff together. They all kind of work as you would expect them to. And then here's a library of what other people have made. And you can pull them apart to see how they function and how they made things work and that kind of thing. Whether that translates into a real world thing that you could make, I don't know, because I don't know enough about integrated circuitry to tell you that, but maybe, possibly, question mark. Salt Sea Chronicles is a base management thing. You are on the hunt for your captain. Salt Sea Chronicles, a beautiful seafaring adventure where you guide a crew of survivors through a post-flood world known as Salt Sea to uncover the mystery of your captain's disappearance. So it's like a base management thing. You send off people on expeditions to look for clues. Meanwhile, you're hanging out at the base, building it up, helping people out, doing quests for them, that kind of thing. Haunty, despite having a strange name, Haunty is a twin-stick shooter, but puzzles. So rather than it being like a hyper, hyper stressful action twin-stick shooter type thing, this is more of a, what could I use to solve puzzles? What can I haunt? What can I possess effectively and use that to, complete puzzles or what have you? I think the idea here is that you're trying to bring light to the world, or some of these areas you're just trying to lighten up, who knows, something like that. I think the gameplay is fairly freeform, is the idea. It's like there's a bunch of things you can jump into and possess, and use those things to complete puzzles, effectively. It looks really nice, and all the animations, all of the artwork is all hand-drawn. So their team of artists probably need to soak their hands in a bath for quite a while. Ete is, you play as a budding painter who moves to Montreal for the summer and has the magical ability to slap paint about the gaff to give it colour. Okay, so it's a bit Untitled Swan, I guess. You're just painting things. Chill. It's kind of the deal. Hell's Gate. Hell's Gate is what if when Tony Hawk dies, he goes to hell and has to skate for eternity, kind of thing. It's a roguelike skater is the way it's being billed. You'd go about doing your skating things. Your skateboards are also weapons, so they all have different weapon abilities. You can have a skateboard that's also a katana, a skateboard that's also a hammer, a skateboard that's also etc., etc. And you do your tricks. Tricks build up score meter, I think, as well. And you can use it to do different attacks and what have you. It's an interesting mashup. They're going effectively with the Tony Hawk's Underground style game, where it is kind of an open map RPG deal. But instead of being tied down to real world skating culture, they're gone just nuts with it. They've gone, yeah, you're in hell and you need to skate. Don't ask questions. Cart Life. Cart Life is a kind of resurrection of a very old. Sorry, not very old. Old sim game. Not very. I'm very old. This is not that old. A retail sim from 2010, which features 3 street vendors who struggle to make ends meet. So you're playing street vendors, 3 of them, and you're just kind of going about their daily life. One of them is a bagel seller, I think. One of them sells newspapers, something, I don't know. What's interesting here is that the game itself, the original Cart Life, was taken out off Steam. The original developer had some reason for doing so. It was never particularly clear, but it was a well-liked game at the time, and had been unavailable for quite a while now, and this has now been resurrected and put back on Steam. Viewfinder. Viewfinder is what if your portal gun could also take pictures? Then what? And then you have a very different game, probably. So the idea with Viewfinder is you have a camera, and the camera can, as you might imagine, takes pictures, and you can use those photographs to then superimpose them on the area you are currently in and change it. So it's got a little bit of Portal, and it's got a little bit of Superliminal going on as well, and that you can do this kind of forced perspective idea with photographs. So some photographs you just find in the world, some of them you take yourself. So, you can put this in, set it in place, and now you have a bridge that you can cross. So there's some pretty crazy things going on under the hood to make this work. I would actually be very interested to see the code. So yeah, you do have a camera, you have yourself, but again, you will also just find photographs about in the world to help you out. You need a staircase to get over there. Okay, I need a bridge to get here. That kind of thing. So that's what you're going to work with. It's going to be a pretty interesting puzzle game, and you have this weird cat that follows you around, and it's never particularly clear why this weird cat is following you around, but okay. It's possible the cat talks, I'm not sure. Viewfinder is... well, there's no really... I thought there was a release date for it. Okay. Viewfinder does have a demo available, though, if you want to check that out as well. Hyperlight Breaker... so Hyperlight Breaker is set in the same universe as Hyperlight Drifter, which is a very good Zelda-like game from Heart Machine. Hyperlight Breaker is kind of a big departure from that. Hyperlight Drifter was a top-down like the original Zeldas. Hyperlight Breaker is a procedurally generated open-world roguelike slasher. And while it does look very colorful, which is very Heart Machine is all about colors, I find it hard to kind of connect with a world where everything is random. This is an open world map, and the way the developer has described it is that you'll never have the same map twice. Which kind of makes it difficult to sort of engage with it. It would be like saying Breath of the Wild, but the map changes every time you turn the switch on. It's like... There's no real exploration for that. It's kind of the same issue I had with No Man's Sky, to be honest, is that the exploration... There really isn't any, fun exploration, because none of it is crafted. It's all procedural. I guess the big draw then will just be combat, and that the combat scenarios will be different. The environment you do it in will be different, kind of thing. I don't know. It's entering early access soon. So early access, they tend to like refine, find the things that work, find the things that don't work, and they have a fair amount of time to fix it or work on it. Yeah, I'm kind of hoping they make this a bit more exciting, honestly. Anyway, Cocoon. Cocoon is probably the standout from Day of the Devs, and it's probably the standout from the whole show in general. Other than Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, but that's kind of for a particular type of gamer, I think. Cocoon is from the same gameplay designer behind Limbo and Inside. It is the same kind of puzzle, physics puzzle type thing. The difference with Cocoon is it's entirely top-down, unlike Limbo and Inside. Which was all side-scrolling. You play this bug guy who's going about solving puzzle shenanigans. The way Cocoon works, though, is there are multiple different kind of worlds you can jump into as you're playing it. So a lot of the worlds are nested inside each other. So right now, over in the voiceover, they're talking about how you're inside one world now, but you can jump out of that world and go to another one. And I don't remember when he says that. Does he jump out of it now? Yeah, so he jumps out of a world now and he's in a different one. And again, you can see a plate there. He can jump out of that world and jump into another one and so on and so forth. Every world that you're in is encapsulated within this orb that you can see on the side, and the orbs themselves are used to solve puzzles in this current world, and so on and so forth. So I think what he does is he takes that orb and goes out into another bigger world, and so on. So there's got this kind of nesting going on. And the idea is, I think you want to pull as many orbs as you can out to like the topmost worlds and use that to solve puzzles. But I guess inside the orbs as well, inside those worlds, you need to solve puzzles before you can extract them or something like that. So yeah, there's going to be some jumping in and out of worlds. It's going to be a little confusing. I guess we'll know more when the game itself comes out. Again, I don't think there was a release date. It's due out later this year. So no specific date, later this year. Eternites is extremely anime, so I won't subject you to the trailer. Even though I am quite interested in it, I'm pretty sure it's just me who's interested in. Eternites is kind of Persona, but what if Persona leaned a little bit more on the dating sim side of things, rather than the RPG side? Henry Halfhead's a bit of a weird game. So Henry Halfhead has a little bit of Untitled Goose Game to it. And I don't mean you just being a dickhead to everybody. I mean the kind of, you have a set of goals that you need to complete in the world, in the same way Untitled Goose Game did, in that you had to, make a picnic or steal a bell or any of those normal things. And how you went about doing it was up to you. Henry Halfhead is kind of something similar. So he has turn off the alarm. You can jump into the alarm and just turn yourself off, which seems like the most sensible thing to do. But the other option, of course, is to jump into the alarm and then jump into the battery and then pull the battery out. That's another way you can do it. There's a later one where he tries to give himself a bath and he has to like jump into the faucet, turn the water on, jump into like soap so he can, put some bath suds in and so on and so forth. It's a lot of just puzzles and possessing different things to do different things and that kind of thing. And you can, of course, complete your life's goal of becoming a toilet, like everybody has always wanted to be. Anyway, Henry Halfhead, no release date. Mars First Logistics is very dumb. It's kind of Kerbal Space Program, I guess, in that you build some ridiculous contraptions, and you use those contraptions to move things about Mars. So you have these like awkwardly shaped objects, or sometimes not awkwardly shaped. It's just a pizza box. It's a square. How difficult can it be? And you build a machine that can pick it up and carry it from point A to point B. And that's kind of the deal with Mars First Logistics, is that you're able to create this thing that can hopefully pick up this pizza box and then secure it enough that you're able to then carry it from where you are to where you need to be. And in typical nonsense physics games, it doesn't work, as you're about to see. So, yeah, that's what you've got going into this game. I've seen other ones where he picks up the box and the pizza differently. He picks up this rock, but it's too heavy or something, and he's not able to actually carry it and drive at the same time, as you can see. There's some other ones where he has to pick up a turtle shell and this kind of stuff. So, yeah, it can be very interesting in that you build something like quite good at carrying these things. Or you can build something that just doesn't do the job in any way whatsoever, and it's just funny, like this. Good job. Anyway, that's Mars First Logistics. Again, no release date, but it's going to be in early access this month. And then Simpler Times is you step into the shoes of Taina as she prepares to move out of her childhood home and begin a new chapter. So it is going about your childhood bedroom, childhood home, and reminiscing about all the things in it while you pack up, kind of thing. So it's it's very chill type of game. Anyway, outside though of Summer Games Fest, other games are showing themselves off. So RoboCop Rogue City got a bit of a hands-on preview from a bunch of different outlets. This video in particular is from IGN, but a bunch of different ones have some things to say about it. It is generally the previews have been generally positive. When showing off there is that this developer has also worked on not so great Rambo game and surprisingly great Terminator game. So there's kind of hope that hopefully RoboCop Rogue City will be in the surprisingly good RoboCop game. It's kind of showing off that yes, it's a first-person shooter, and yes, it's going to be pretty violent, and RoboCop, will enforce the law through terrible violence. But you can also be like the other side of policing, where you're like actually help people and don't just shoot them. I know what a radical idea that the police help people. But yeah, it's been showing off a couple of things. This video in particular is lengthy enough. How to explain it? It is set between RoboCop 2 and 3. So after RoboCop 2 and before the RoboCop that should not be named. Some returning characters. They do have... Is it Peter Weller who plays RoboCop? They have him doing the voice lines. RoboCop can pick up enemy guns if you want, but from most of the previews they've stated that why would you bother? His regular gun is so much better. Auto targeting and time slowdown and stuff like that. So there's a lot of stuff going on. Most of the previews have kind of questioned how challenging the game is going to be, because as you might notice, RoboCop is pretty much unkillable. You just look at the bottom left, that's his armor bar. It barely goes down. He just stands out in the open and shoots people. There's no covering. RoboCop is not a cover shooter. He's a boomer shooter. He goes out and just shoots things until they die. And takes practically zero damage from it, and I believe has auto-regenerating health, or auto-regenerating armor. How does that work? Technology, I don't know. You work it out. I imagine later on you'll encounter like Ed 209 and stuff like that, who can fire, armor-piercing rocket shells at you and stuff like that. But maybe in the early game there's not such a... Nothing's particularly scary to RoboCop at that point. Who knows? Again, it's going to be a while before the game is out. So, actually, maybe there isn't. Actually, I think the game is out pretty soon. Was there a release date at the end of this trailer? Yep. No. I do think it's out pretty soon, though. I think it's out in July at some stage. Anyway, Shadows of the Damned. Shadows of the Damned is getting a remastered version. If you are not familiar, Shadows of the Damned is... what if Antonio Banderas from Desperado went to hell? That's Shadows of the Damned. I forget this guy's name. It is fairly irreverent, sort of grindhouse type game. It's a third-person shooter after Resident Evil 4, but nowhere near as good as Resident Evil 4. Grasshopper has some interesting ideas, at least. Their stories are always fun, if not incredibly stupid. but I enjoy them. And a remastered would hopefully mean it won't be as janky as the original was, because the original had a very variable frame rate, shall we say. And then dropped at the end here is that there will be a Grasshopper Direct happening next week. What we're going to see from them is debatable. We obviously will have the Shadows of the Dam remaster. Grasshopper also own a bunch of other IPs that have been sleeping for quite a while now. They are the same developer behind No More Heroes, but they're also the developer behind Lollipop Chainsaw, Killer is Dead. What's that sheep game where you have the guy who's cheating on his girlfriend with another girl who has the exact same name? Catherine. I think that's Grasshopper as well. So yeah, we'll see what they're going to be doing at their direct. I imagine Kadokawa have been working on the Lollipop Chainsaw remake, and I don't think Grasshopper have anything to do with it, so it's probably not that. So I'd be curious what exactly they're going to be talking about. Presumably they're working on something new as well, so I guess they'll show that off too. Anyway, moving on. World of Horror. So World of Horror is Junji Ito procedural horror game. So Junji Ito, if you're not familiar, Junji Ito is the narrative designer behind Silent Hill, but also is a very well accomplished horror manga artist, writer, creator. If you've ever seen the meme of the guy trying to climb into a human-shaped hole and says, like, this hole was meant for me, this is my hole, or whatever, that's him. That's his work. Also read that comic or manga. Also don't read that manga because it's fucking terrifying. But yeah, that's him. That's his deal. He makes some really, really fucking creepy shit. And World of Horror has been pretty well received so far. It's been in early access for a while. It will be leaving early access in and around October of this year, I believe. Yeah, it's some off-putting, scary shit. October 19th, if you really want to be very, very scared. Notably not on Xbox. So PC, Switch, and PlayStation. Continue. Your Epic Games free game this week was Payday 2, or is Payday 2, up until Thursday. If you are not familiar with Payday, it is a 4-player cooperative bank heist game. You are 4 characters. Your job is to go in and rob a bank. How you go about doing that is kind of up to your characters. You can go in, smash and grab. You can try to stealth your way in, take down all security systems. Eventually, though, the police will figure out you're robbing the bank. And then it becomes a standoff or an escape or whatever. So you have, part A of the game, rob the bank. And then part B of the game is escape with the money. And there's a lot of different scenarios set up. You have really high security banks or low security banks or banks out in the middle of fucking nowhere or that kind of thing. It's a fun game. Payday 3, I think, is currently in development and has only just been announced or something like that. But yeah, at least it's not a PvP thing. There's nobody playing the police or anything like that. I think there is opportunities for your gang to betray you and make off with more of the cut of the bank, of the heist or something like that. But why would you do that? Unless you're planning to not play with that person ever again, I guess, something like that. Anyway, that's Payday 2. It is currently free on Epic. Anyway, that's a lot of games that you could play eventually, coming soon-ish. But what if you wanted to play something right now? Well, you can play Diablo 4 now with everybody else. So up until now, Diablo 4 has been in a kind of sort of early access thing, but not the way you assume early access in that if you pre-order the game, you can play the game 4 days early, effectively. So people have been able to play over the weekend. Over last weekend, rather, not this weekend. The game came out on the 6th of June. So far, it's been getting pretty good praise. Servers are holding up-ish, which is surprising. Normally, always online game. That's always just announced. People are really interested to play it. Typically, the servers drop off almost immediately. Not this time. It's not that they've been up constantly. You know, they are obviously going up and down or what have you. I really want to play it, but I also can't really get around the Battle Pass, you know, microtransaction season fucking things. I really wish that never came into Diablo, but here we are. So I don't know. I'm trying to get past that and just play it. And also the fact that it has Activision attached to it. Anyway. Amnesia the Bunker. Amnesia the Bunker is set in World War One. You are, you know, the cat and mouse amnesia type things that I'm not super... I don't really like playing them. I don't mind watching people play them, but I particularly don't like cat and mouse survival horror. And what do I mean by cat and mouse is like you just need to hide. That's it. You have no way of fighting back or no way of escaping or anything like that. It's just, no, hide instead. It just feels slow and, you know, it's just padding out the gameplay, really. IMO. Now, some games do it really well. Outlast does it really well, and Amnesia does it really well, and Alien Isolation does it really well, but a lot of games don't. A lot of games don't do it well, and I think that's probably where I dislike it the most. Because for a long time, that's what survival horror was. And it wasn't Resident Evil, Silent Hill, you know, the kind of games I do like. Survival horror instead became, no, just hide from the thing instead. And if it catches you, it goes blah, 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 and that's it. Yawn? Yawn and snore and snooze. But yeah, Amnesia seems to be doing pretty well, or Amnesia the Bunker seems to be well received. I will wait until somebody who I watch streaming streams it. Melvin, if you're interested, you can stream that. Mask of the Rose. Mask of the Rose is, hey, the world is about to be destroyed, and we've been all dropped into this pit of hell. But hey, there's still time for romance. So Mask of the Rose is a romance game set in the Fallen London universe. Fallen London is quite literal. It's London, the city, in and around Victorian times. So think like Jack the Ripper, Sherlock Holmes type period. And you have been just like cartoonishly, someone has stuck a saw up underneath London and cut all the way around it, and it has been dropped down into the bowels of the earth. That's Fallen London. It's not as dumb as that sounds. It's got some sort of eldritch shenanigans where it's been teleported somewhere else or something like that. That's the general universe. But the deal is, it's also a dating sim set in that world. That's an interesting concept, but okay. I guess if you want to romance some kind of eldritch horror, knock yourself out. Anyway, Mask of the Rose. And then, so part of Wholesome Game Direct, because again, like I said, there were a bunch of showcases. Some showcases I didn't even get around to talking about because I just haven't gotten through all of it yet. One of them is the Wholesome Game Direct. One of them is the Future Game Show that was quite late last night, so, you know, I prepare the weekly news recap on Saturdays. And anything that really happens after the Saturday, despite it saying 11th of June, any news that happens on the 11th of June doesn't really get included. Case in point being the Xbox showcase. That's going to be happening later today. Obviously, I will not have had time to even look at that because I'm not a time traveler. Anyway, Smushy Returns Home was shown off during the Wholesome Game Direct and was also stealth dropped onto stores. So it's on Switch and PC. You play Smushy. You are trying to get home. And at the same time, you know, you're collecting things, trying to circumvent problems in your area and things like that. It just looks fun. You know, it has a little bit of Little Gator game to it, which is a similar type of Zelda-ish type game, but you're just hanging out, doing fun things. I don't know. It looks like it'll be a little bit of fun. Wholesome Game Direct is full of games that are, wow, that's super cute. Just the whole thing, as you might imagine. Everything is very, very cute in the Wholesome Game Direct. Anyway, moving on. It is now time, however, to talk about the worst parts of video games. The video game industry. Hang on, I gotta... Okay, I gotta get some water in for that. So, while Sega was showing off Sonic Superstars, it kind of buried this story that Sega are also currently union busting. So Aegis is this proto-union set up in Sega Developers and Sega QA. They are the Allied Employees Guild Improving Sega. I gotta hydrate. Thank you, Melvin. We are disappointed that Sega management has decided to interfere in our democratic right to organize leading up to the NLRB mailing out our ballots on June 16th. So, instead of living up to Sega's values of respecting our employees' rights to organize for labor management consultation, management has initiated a campaign in response to us exercising our rights. We call on management to cease their anti-union campaign and be neutral. As a Sega fan, we ask you retweet, sign the petition, and please continue playing Sega games. So they're not asking you to boycott it. Similarly, the Blizzard developers behind Diablo 4 said the same thing. That yeah, you can be, pissed off about what's happening with Activision and so on, but play the games because it's what gets them paid, kind of thing. So there's only so much you can do to help out with these kind of things. Sega have not responded about this, and no outlet has said anything about it either. So I guess most of the journalism outlets right now are focused on Summer Game Fest, and they're not seeing this, which is exactly what Sega wants. Because they're being able to do this union busting and nobody can call them out on it. Maybe we'll see something coming next week, when the showcases kind of die down and it becomes kind of a drip feed of game news. But yeah, it's there, so we retweet it. I did retweet it. I don't know why it says I haven't. Did I? Okay, I'm gonna retweet it again, I guess. Anyway. Moving on. It is June 2023 and EA wants to add NFTs to FIFA and Madden. So yes, in the year of our Lord 2023, well, in the year of your Lord 2023, EA wants to put NFTs into FIFA. So at some point in the future, games like FIFA and Madden will integrate with Nike's .swoosh platform, which is its NFT platform effectively. What does that mean? Their new digital community experience. It's an NFT platform. Crypto shit. Here's the interesting crypto. This is 2022. Yeah, cool. Smart move out of you guys. Despite this and the wider public reaction to the concept that landed somewhere between ambivalence and condemnation, EA and Nike are deciding to move ahead with this. So Nike Virtual Studios and EA Sports are today announcing a new partnership aimed at enhancing and personalizing the virtual sports experience for all fans all over the world. Let's ignore the fact that you can do that already without crypto and NFTs, but okay. This collaboration brings together two of the biggest names in sport and entertainment and will lead to all the... citation needed on that one. Bring to all the new ways for members of .swoosh, Nike's new digital community experience, and EA Sports fans to express their personal style through play. You can do that already. It's called microtransactions, where you buy skins and colors and shit that you can't take with you into the next game. Cool. Anyway, what's kind of pointed out here by Luke Plunkett in that whole blurb and that whole disgusting corporate thing, they don't at no point do they say anything about NFTs or Web3. But that is what the virtual platform that Swoosh is. Sorry, .swoosh. It's an NFT thing. You get an NFT of fancy football boots. Cool. Awesome. Can't wait. There's no reference to it, which would suggest that they're either hiding it intentionally or they're somewhat embarrassed to be doing this. Maybe it's a contractual agreement that neither company can get out of. It's charitable interpretation of the news. Another way to read it is they just want more money. And again, pointed out by Luke Plunkett, EA Sports already offers this customization thing in FIFA and Madden. It's, you can change the kit of your team, change who even plays on your team, the boots they wear, colors they have, skin tone of your player character and so on. Like, there is no need for this. Except money. Anyway. Miss Studios' new game has loads of AI-assisted stuff in it. So, huge disappointment here from Cyan. So Cyan are the developer behind Myst and Riven, which are very deep, rich lore games. And also really hard puzzle games. But they have a lot of, really good world building in them. And it's very disappointing to find that their newest game, Firmament, which I was kind of looking forward to, because it also has a VR version of it, that a lot of the things that players are complaining about can almost be directly attributed to their use of AI. So fans are down on some of the puzzle design, but they also repeatedly mention how flat the game's world feels, how poor the narration is, and the sparsity of Firmament's in-game lore, which really stands out when compared to Cyan's 90s blockbusters. So obviously, in the 90s, Myst and Riven, there was no ChatGPT to do this kind of thing, so they had to write everything by hand. Not now, though. So, kind of interesting here to point out how some of this stuff is kind of falling flat and people aren't interested in it because voice acting doesn't show up on the credits. Supplementary writers don't show up on the credits, and so on and so forth. So sitting through the game's credits, some jobs, like voice acting, don't even get a mention where you'd expect them. But literally the very last credit before they go into, thanking their Kickstarters is, here's all the things that AI, remember, it's not actually AI. It's not. It's a language prediction machine. Anyway, AI-assisted content. AI assisted in journals, logs, checklists, newspapers, stories, songs, poems, letters, loosely scattered papers, all the backer portraits, all the founders' portraits, the sunset paintings, the Art Nouveau wallpaper, and yada yada yada, propaganda banners, coastal spill decal kit, all voiced mentor, announcer, founder, and other speeches. All of these things have been described as being so underwhelming and why so many players had complaints about the lifelessness of its narration. All voice acting so this is from Cyan. All voice acting content was performed by an actual human being 100% of the time. They then just used AI to change the timbre, change the tone, inflections, do it through a filter, stuff like that. Now there is already software that exists that does that, and doesn't leverage AI to do it. It's used in games. It's used in like a lot of games where if you need a voice work to come through a radio and you need to apply radio static to it, or it's possible to hear the voice through a wall or something, so you need to apply like noise on top of it, or you need to modulate the voice because it's meant to be a demon talking, so they need to like drop the tone or drop the timbre of it and so on. Or you need to layer voices on top of each other and that kind of thing. All that software already exists. Why didn't you use that? Why did you use this AI stuff that is not as good at it as an actual human being? Tailoring it specifically for the actual use case is going to be light years better at it than a computer. Because computers are just going to copy what they've already seen. That's how they work. They just copy. They can't create things themselves. Many backers pledged their support years ago. Years being important here because it's way before ChatGPT became a thing. Way before it became leverageable in the development space. So there's a lot of like stuff from Kickstarter backers, reviewers, and so on and so forth. Cyan, for their part, did come back with a much longer explanation. The voice performances in Firmament were voiced 100% of the time by a talented member of our development team who elected not to be credited by name. Now, you could argue that, okay, that's an explanation, and take it purely on face. They elected not to be credited, so that's why they're not in the credits. Okay. Or you could take a less generous interpretation and say, that's convenient. That's sure convenient that they elected not to be credited, huh? That way they don't have to show up and you don't have to explain who it was that did the voice. I mean, there's certainly a couple of different ways you can interpret that. What is really annoying and really frustrating, though, is that this is not the first game to be caught using AI to do its stuff, and to hide that it was using AI to do it, or how much AI was involved to be doing it. I guess they didn't technically hide it since it's in the credits, but it's also the very last thing in the credits. That Squanch Games thing where the guns talk to you or whatever, the posters, the artwork in that was all AI generated. There was news last week that I didn't include in the show, but it was like half of the art team had been laid off, and then a lot of the art assets were replaced with AI derived assets. And they are typically nowhere near as good. The Duke Nukem key art for some retro console, also generated with AI, and it is plainly obvious, because you can tell. Like, Duke is holding a gun, but his hand seems to just fuse with the handle. He's not actually gripping it. His legs seem to just disappear. Once they get to his feet, he just doesn't have any feet, and so on. Like, it's bad. Like, it's bad art. And they're just happy to go with it because it looks good enough. You know? That's when you have... Again, you have the money men in charge of the art part of the project, when they should just be in charge of the money part. And that's it. Anyway. Moving on. FTC fines Microsoft $20 million for illegally collecting children's personal information. So this is Microsoft violating COPPA, COPPA. If you have uploaded anything to YouTube, you should know what COPPA is. And if you don't, go learn about what COPPA is, because apparently you are liable to it, even if you don't reside in the US, which is kind of bullshit, but here we are. Basically, it's don't put kids in your videos. That's it. That's kind of the gist of it. The Federal Trade Commission has ordered Microsoft to pay $20 million after an investigation found that it has been illegally collecting the personal information of children who use its Xbox consoles without parental consent. So the idea here is Xbox requires you to make an account to use online stuff, much like every other service. The issue here, though, was that they were allowing people to give their first name, last name, date of birth, email address, all before parental consent was given. It's only after this data is given that Microsoft said, okay, now we need parental consent to complete the process. However, now that you've given them that data, they held on to it. Even if you didn't complete the process, they still kept it. That's where the fine is coming from. It now instead requires players to just provide their date of birth first, and then they'll say, okay, now you need parental consent to check, are you under 13 or what have you. So that's a $20 million fine because of a user experience mistake. That's expensive. That's an expensive mistake that somebody didn't catch. Microsoft retained the data even if a parent failed to complete it. COPPA forbids the retention of personal information for longer than is reasonably necessary to fulfill the purpose for which it was collected. So if they didn't actually complete the form, you have no reason to hold on to that data, but they did, so $20 million. Microsoft has attributed this to a technical glitch. Fuck off. Just fuck off. This is a use case that was missed in development. That's what this is. This is not a technical glitch. Its systems were not deleting data for child accounts that did not complete the creation process. No, again, this is an oversight in the use case UX part of the development. Xbox Firm has also emphasized that this data was never used, shared, or monetized. Citation needed, but here we are. Anyway, that's a pretty expensive use case oversight. This might only really be interesting to people who work in development of these kind of things, of these kind of data acquisition, GDPR adjacent things. But yeah, I'll fuck with GDPR, basically. Anyway, moving on. Obviously, $20 million is nothing to Microsoft, but whatever. Disney card game gets sued for allegedly copying rivals' design. So, in shocking news, Disney have copied something. Allegedly. I have to say allegedly. I don't want Mickey Mouse showing up and breaking my knees. Lorcana, which is Disney's upcoming collectible card game, may be in jeopardy because the Upper Deck Company, which is a questionable name, has issued a class action lawsuit which is accusing one of the game's designers of intellectual property theft. So, the issue stems from the designer on Lorcana having previously worked for the Upper Deck Company on an unreleased game called The Rush of Icor, or Icor, not sure how it's pronounced. And they are alleging that the designer has lifted core aspects of that game and reused them in Lorcana, which is very much against their separation, IP, all that jazz. Rather than allow Miller to honor the agreements and their terms, this is the designer, Upper Deck is informed and believes that Ravensburger, this is the producer of Lorcana, induced and intended for Miller to breach his obligations so that it could capitalize on Miller's knowledge of the elements of the Rush of Icor game, so he could make a near-identical game for it. This allowed Ravensburger to gain a competitive advantage and accelerated launch and bring a nearly identical trading card game to market under a different brand. So they're getting like a massive jump ahead in development because they don't have to do any development. It's done already. I'm just going to steal it. So they're asking for an injunction that you don't allow this game to be sold until we can iron out what's going on here and figure things out. Right now, it's up to a court to decide whether they're going to do that or not. Ravensburger have come back to say, we at Ravensburger stand behind the integrity of our team and the originality of our products. It's the originality of Disney products, sure, okay, whatever. The baseless claims filed this week are entirely without merit, and we look forward to proving this in due time. So from their part, they're taking the I'm shutting up, I'm going to talk to my lawyer aspect to it. We'll see. Upper Deck have not released any concept art or assets and stuff like that for you to compare against, so we don't know. We'll just have to see, but huge balls on them for trying to sue Disney. We'll see how that... It's a bold strategy, Cotton. We'll see how that works out for them. Friday the 13th, the game is being delisted from stores in December. So in games preservation news, we continue to not be good at games preservation. Friday the 13th, the game will be pulled from stores on 31st of December this year, so the end of the year, which is the exact same day the Friday the 13th license officially expires. So licenses for live service games expire. This is why you don't see a lot of licensed remastered games or remasters of licensed games. Like the Lord of the Rings PS2 games. That's why you're not seeing them, because they don't own the license for them anymore. The PS1 Spider-Man games, they don't own the license for it anymore, and so on and so forth. Licensing is kind of the bane of preservation of anything. And I still don't get how is it that film and TV can get around that, right? Because they have to license music. If they use any recognizable music tracks, they have to license it. But the TV show can still be shown in syndication. The film can still be sold on DVD, Blu-ray, what have you. Streaming service. What is the carve-out that they're allowed to keep doing that, but video games are not allowed to keep doing that? What's the issue there? I feel like it's equivalent. I feel like it should be kind of felt the same way. Anyway, the game was originally released in 2017. It is an asymmetric horror game, so think Dead by Daylight, but with the Friday the 13th license. Development was forced to end prematurely because there was a lawsuit over who specifically owned the Friday the 13th license. And in 2020, they decided that they were going to decommission the game's dedicated service, and it went back to peer-to-peer. But now it will no longer be available to purchase after the end of the year. But it will remain playable up until the end of 2024. After that, good luck. He's going to have to start rolling fan servers for it, I imagine. So yeah, not great for games preservation. The game itself is janky. As it's extremely glitchy. And since it hasn't been worked on for quite a while, none of those bugs are going to be fixed either. But it's also really funny. Some of the bugs are really dumb. The game is pretty fun to just watch people play. Again, it's PvP multiplayer. I'm not going to be playing it, but it's pretty fun to watch people play it. Anyway, what is kind of hilarious, though, is that developer is moving on to a very similar game, but now with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre license. Clearly not learning their lesson in any way whatsoever. Because obviously, we're going to have the exact same problem in a couple of years. You don't own the license anymore, so that's the end of that game. Anyway, moving on. Alright, so I'm going to finish off with some dumb stuff. So, the very first Diablo 4 player to reach hardcore level 100, perma-killed in the worst way possible. So, hardcore players, or hardcore mode, if you're not familiar, is effectively you get one life. That's it. Once you die, your character's gone forever. So it's pretty hardcore, as you might imagine. So Diablo 4's first player to hit level 100 while playing on hardcore mode has died in a very dumb way. His voice, Hanaf, what's his full name? Oh, I cannot pronounce that at all. I'm just gonna go with Hanaf. I don't think I'm gonna be able to pronounce his first name. He's like, no! His voice filled with dread as the game became frozen on screen. The always online game of Diablo 4 had disconnected on him. And Diablo 4 treats disconnections as death for hardcore players. It's pretty shit, honestly. I mean, there should really be an exception for that, but yeah. If your game disconnects and you're playing a hardcore character, you're just fucking dead. Allegedly, this is to discourage players from just trying to pull the plug in a losing battle to avoid losing their character, but also it's just fucking... It's a PvE game. Like, who cares? Honestly. Just... Anyway. Yeah, that's it. This is just to point out why always online is a bad thing. Always. Always online is always a bad idea. That's a lot of time put into doing that. A level 100 on hardcore mode, which means he's never died. And getting to level 100 in a game like that, it's gonna take you a long time. Only to be killed because the server went down. Not because his internet went down. Let's be clear. It's not his internet that went down. The game server went down. That sucks. That's gotta suck. Alright, and finally, Coca-Cola has released a limited edition League of Legends flavor that tastes like experience points. So, chat / YouTube commenters, maybe. What does experience points taste like? I thought I was going to be like, hey, what do experience points taste like? And like, you're wrong, and then scroll down to find out what the actual flavor is, but it's not mentioned. It's not mentioned like what ingredient has gone into it that's different or anything like that. Just, it tastes like experience points. There must be a, what is the actual flavor? Hang on. Coca-Cola XP flavor. I tried the Coca-Cola, what is XP flavored Coke? No, that doesn't help. No, still no helps here. Okay, hang on. Let me try ingredients. What are the ingredients? No, that's Coke Classic. I don't want that. Okay, hang on. Let's try this. It tastes like victory? I don't know. Experience to me has always tasted like, you know, it's tasted bitter. Okay, hang on. Coca-Cola, what is it called? Ultimate or something like that? Sake, it's gone. Okay, carbonated water, corn syrup, caramel. Okay, so far this is just Coke. Caffeine, yep, not surprised there. Color, phosphoric acid, natural flavors, caffeine. There's nothing new. There must be something different. Okay. Apparently experience tastes like nothing? I don't know. Oh dear. I've skipped ahead. I've skipped ahead on things. Hang on. Let's get back. Let's get back to where we're supposed to be. Coca-Cola. You didn't see that. Spoilers. Anyway. Who knows what it tastes like? I guess you'll have to find a can somewhere and try it out. Anyway. Moving on. Or moving backwards, maybe. Okay, we'll leave that to loop. So, anyway, that was your news. And a slight look ahead at what's on the schedule, I guess. That's your news for 5th to 11th of June, 2023. So you're too long, didn't watch Summer Games Fest, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. It's coming out December 2024. Sorry, no it isn't. It's been delayed to 2024, and it's going to be on 2 discs. Alan Wake 2 showed off some gameplay. It's coming out 17th of October. Marvel Spider-Man 2, 20th of October. Lies of P has a demo out now, 19th of September. Mortal Kombat 1 showed off a lot of gameplay. The cameo system looks pretty interesting. It's coming out the 19th of September. And Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown is a 2D return to the classic Prince of Persia, the real classic Prince of Persia's, not you kids' version of the classic Prince of Persia. It's going to be out some stage at the beginning of next year. Day of the Devs, Cocoon, looks like it's going to be pretty good. It's from the developer behind Inside and Limbo. Viewfinder is What If Portal, but you take pictures. Also has a demo out now, if you want to check it out. Haunty is a hand-drawn and hand-animated twin-stick puzzle game that looks pretty cool and pretty interesting. RoboCop looks like it's going to be pretty good. Some gameplay has been shown off. Gameplay previews are up if you want to check those out. Shadow of the Damned is getting a remastered version. And World of Horror is leaving early access in October. New games out this week: Diablo 4, Amnesia the Bunker, Mask of the Rose, and Smooshy Come Home. Your industry bullshit roundup. Sega are doing some union busting behind the scenes. The Mist dev is using AI in their latest game. People are not particularly happy about it. The FTC is fining Microsoft for not thinking of the children, and EA and Nike are doing NFTs for some reason in 2023 of all years. That is your news from the 5th to 11th of June 2023. But what is happening on the channel? So, if I can find... No. What am I looking for? This. Right. So, again, this is our roadmap mosaic bingo card for first half of 2023. Green symbol, game has been featured. Yellow symbol, currently being featured. Gray symbol, it's on its way. No symbol, I don't know. It's be here eventually, at some point. So here's where we are looking. As you might imagine, the first half of 2023 is the end of June. We'll be coming up to the end of June pretty soon. And there's a lot of games here that don't have any symbols on them. So, yeah, a few of them are probably gonna migrate into the second half of the year. Anyway, moving on. So some news for the channel. Discord. There's a Discord server now. Type !Discord into the chat if you want the link to it. Obviously, this is not very active right now because I am literally the only person in the Discord. But feel free to jump in and, chat about any of the games that are shown off on the channel or anything about video games in general, that kind of stuff. Be nice. Please be nice. Okay? Don't make me wield the ban hammer too early. All right? Anyway, it's there. Check it out. What have you. So what happened on the channel this week? So we played Adios on Friday. We played all the way through it. It's a pretty short game. It's a story about a pig farmer who works for the mob, in the way that you assume a pig farmer will work for the mob, but they don't want to work for them anymore. And it's basically a story about the hitman who brings him the bodies being like, you sure you don't want to keep working for the mob? Because, if you don't keep working for the mob, I'm gonna have to kill you. So, it was really good. It was a really good game. Game, asterisk, because there's not a whole lot of gameplay in it, but it's really well written, and the voice acting is really well done. And there were some like pretty tense moments in it as well. Anyway, that was that. Then Melwin and I started a playthrough of A Way Out. There were lots and lots of co-op shenanigans. I should never be given, or I should never be sat at the wheel of a vehicle, and I can't fish at all. It turns out I'm incapable of fishing. I am apparently really good at darts though, and horseshoes, and something else I beat you at. No, I don't know what else it was. And that kind of thing. We're probably halfway-ish through the game. Neither of us have played the game together. Or sorry, neither of us have played the game before. I just said together because together was on the screen. Neither of us have played the game before. So we'll see how it transpires. And I guess we're seeing things now that we haven't seen yet in the game. Spoilers. We'll see how that gets on. And we will be continuing not next week, but the week after. We'll get back to it. However, continuing on the channel, we are still playing Bioshock, so we'll be continuing that on Tuesday. We will probably finish it on Tuesday, because I think we're pretty close to the end of the game. We are, for people who are familiar with the story, we're at the bit where the guy uses all the plasmids at once. That bit. Okay, you know what bit I'm talking about. We'll play that on Tuesday, probably finish it. Wednesday, continuing Cloudpunk, again. Similarly, I think we're pretty close to the end of Cloudpunk. I don't quite remember when exactly the story makes the change and becomes endgame, but we are getting some more interesting things happening now. The story threads that had been kind of not really related are now all coming back together. We're finding that the AI that is responsible for like maintaining the city is falling apart, going nuts, and like cities are being dropped into the ocean, and various things are ceasing to function, people are dying, and so on and so forth. And we may or may not be somewhat responsible for that. Anyway, we'll be continuing that on Wednesday. Thursday, we will be playing Diablo. The original Diablo. The really old fucking game. Maybe. If I can get it to work, we will play Diablo. The first one, and I will play it as long as I can put up with it, because it's an old game. Old games are hard, and you know, I may not want to subject myself to how hard these are. I may just cheat, to be honest. I might just run Cheat Engine and go with Cheat Engine instead. But yeah, we're gonna try to play the original Diablo now that Diablo 4 is out. I gotta work my way back up to the story, I guess. Saturday, since Melwin is not around, I am going to start playing Monster Hunter World, because I've been threatening to do it for a while now, and I might as well get started. So Monster Hunter World, our playthrough of it is effectively going to be this long-running thing where I'm basically just going to drop it in randomly in the schedule, because it's a very long game and it requires a considerable amount of grinding for me in the background, and it gives me something to play off stream, which is kind of why I'm doing it in the first place, because I'm running out of games to play off stream that I want to play off stream and not on stream, if that makes sense. Like, there's a lot of games in the backlog that I'm like, I really want to play that, but I want to wait and stream it instead. Whereas there's a lot going on in Monster Hunter World that I can play off stream, you know, farming the monsters, getting my gear better, and so on and so forth, that don't require it to be on stream. So that's my plan for Saturday. And, you know, we will eventually probably move on to a different game. Anyway, so that is the schedule for next week. Bioshock on Tuesday, Cloudpunk on Wednesday, Diablo on Thursday. No stream on Friday, currently, at least, because we might be playing D&D on Friday, so we have to see. Assume that I am playing D&D. Saturday, Monster Hunter World, and then we'll be right back around on Sunday to the weekly news recap. So, that is... that's your news, and that's your channel update for today. Pretty lengthy one today because Summer Games Fest, and I imagine next week will be much the same. I will be back later on today with the Microsoft Xbox Starfield showcase thing. That is going to be 6 p.m. my time. So I'll be back for that. I may or may not hang around and do the PC gaming show as well. It depends on how long the Microsoft one is, because it's like a 3-hour gap or something. So if that's the case, probably not. But if it's the case that it's like right after it, sure, I'll do that. I guess we'll see. And Melwin, I think, is playing something today. Are you playing Mafia today? I forget what you said yesterday. I think you said you were playing it. Anyway, maybe. If she is, cool. If she's not, you have the Microsoft thing to watch, I guess. Anyway. That's it for me for today. Playing Mafia today. Okay, cool. That's it for me today. If you want, do feel free to drop by the Discord and that jazz. I'll have to start adding that to all the socials and things like that. And I'll see you either for the Microsoft thing later on today, or I'll see you for Bioshock. Right. Have a good one, everybody. Bye-bye. Thank you.